Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Ted, hanging out with some of the colleagues here.
Dave.
Nate.
And today we're going to bring you another exciting edition of MageForge. And Dave's keeping this one under wraps, so what do you got for us?
Okay, this is a combination of something I something I came up when we were talking about Outcast.
Okay.
Something that I ripped from the comments from Mike Gould. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. And also talking to Nerdarchist Ryan, there was another little aspect.
All right, so we got pieces coming from everywhere, and what do we get?
Boom. Okay, so all right, so we and also Nate had the idea of in Outcast that they actually have this underwater mining operation.
Right.
And so I kind of had this idea. Well, you know what? You need miners for this, and I think one of the resources of Outcast was they uncovered a stash of inert warforged, and they've managed to activate them, and they use them as their slave labor force. And so most of the slaves in Outcast are actually going to be warforged.
This is good.
And these make awesome deep divers.
Yes,
right?
Indeed.
But now the question is, what are they diving for? Initially, I said, what about pearls? Oyster.
Yeah.
They could get from. Do clams have pearls and oysters, or is it just one? Or I don't actually know.
I think anything that makes kind of like that pearlescent shell interior could probably make a pearl. I don't know.
But either way.
I'm not certain, but in our world, we can do whatever we want because it's ours.
Right.
Yeah.
So and it's a fantasy world. So not only can you have clams and oysters, but you can have giant varieties.
Right.
So what they harvest is the pearls, but they also the shells, and the shells of other sea crustaceans, because that was actually the idea that Nerdarchist Ryan inserted. Well, what I'm stealing from Mike is the idea that if you have stalagmites, you generally have stalactites as well. And what are they? They are runoffs of water. Mm-hmm. So what if the water that's been running off into the sea for all this time has been coming through a chaos blade or some other magical radiation, right? And it basically has been pooling in the same region for millennia or however long. And for whatever reason, it bonds with all the sea life that's crustaceans.
Okay.
And mollusks as well.
Okay.
So
they have a super sensitivity to being affected by
right.
this.
So it's actually what it's producing. These pearls are actually semi-magical.
Okay, so we got chaos pearls.
So we have these chaos pearls, right? But my idea is the property of the pearl is that it's actually workable like steel. So so they're able to harvest them and smelt on all the pearls. And granted, like if you find a giant clam with a giant pearl, you're going to get a decent amount.
Oh, absolutely.
And also they also are able to harvest other crustaceans.
I have to say that I absolutely love unique material components to a realm. So having smithable pearls, I now okay, well, I don't have a fighter in our world, but I want a dude who's wielding a longsword that's pearlescent.
Well, yeah, that's the whole idea. So like it's stronger than steel and lighter, but it still looks like pearl.
Right.
It still has that feature to it. And not only that, and maybe anything that's ever made of it is automatically at the very minimum a masterwork type weapon.
Right.
Even though they don't exist, we can pop them back in.
Oh, absolutely.
No big deal. And then we could also, so I'm also thinking maybe it has other properties where it's it takes the magic very easily.
So these would be easily enchantable.
Yeah, maybe it lowers the cost.
Okay.
Or the level requirement, or makes is substitutable on magical formulas for certain materials. We could even give it similar properties to mithril or adamantium or silvered weapons.
Yeah, I feel like it would be lighter, and it would be able to strike magical creatures that require magic weapons.
It could be that, like any weapon made from it is automatically considered magic. Maybe not a bonus.
No, yeah, not a bonus, but
it can be used to.
Well, technically, it's infused with the chaos energy, so that in and of itself is magic.
Well, yeah.
So
and one of the maybe what the chaos magic has done is made it highly malleable. So it's
Right.
it's a lot easier to shape and work with and enchant. So this MageForge is a little different. The idea is instead of actually making a magic item,
We're making a magic thing.
substance.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm totally down for this. I want to.
He's ready to play an Outcast. Outcast right now.
I've been ready to play an Outcast. From the moment that they've put it up as a possibility. The more and more that we talk about, the richness of Outcast and, the things that we can do with it just only increases its interest to me. So how did this process, come to be? How do we want to go into, like, usually when we do a MageForge, we talk about a history.
Dude, totally, like, either some kind of fishing thing or, they're harvesting the stuff for food and someone, like, totally chips a tooth. One of the original dwarves totally chips a tooth. Trying to break into a crab or open an oyster or a clam.
So it's not just the actual pearls, it's actually the shells of
these creatures too, yeah.
Oh man. So
the pearls are the thing that's probably really workable, like steel, and maybe the actual shells or the carapaces of the animals, maybe not as much, but maybe they break it down into components,
right,
and use it. Yeah, so like. So,
are we saying that these things are this material needs to have a name? I like the fact that it's chaos essence. You could have Pearlessence.
Pearlessence steel.
Yeah.
That's like the exact word I was going to use. So
yes, we're all in agreement.
Pearlessence steel. The only place in the Chimes of Discordia where you can get it is Outcast.
So how common, rare are we looking at having this kind of thing, and does the dwarves or inhabitants of Outcast allow for it, since they're a merchant city, are they trading it when they actually send the ships out to the surface or to other?
In Outcast, everything has a price. So that's
I would say
matter.
You can readily there readily is a market for these type of items in Outcast, but they're still going to be pricey because they know they can go trade them someplace else and get more money. So it's kind of like the convenience of getting them right at Outcast, right, if you live there.
Okay.
It's got to be rare enough that not everyone has it, but common enough that it can still be a commodity.
Right.
Yeah. It's a rare commodity.
So, like, maybe like Electrum or Platinum, like, it exists, but not everyone has access to it.
Yeah, and you don't use it to do anything except buy castles or
yeah.
Like, here's a stack of platinum bars. Give me that castle. It's not really like usable too much in coinage.
Right, yeah, I would think it would be traded in either block form or in worked form. Mm-hmm. Similar to other ingots.
Well, maybe someone in maybe the original merchant house keeps exclusive rights on it, and maybe they only send it out as a finished product.
Maybe it actually requires like something in the actual smithing.
I was gonna say, rather than a smithing process, it's actually an alchemical process that makes it into like a castable resin, kind of like liquid, and then so it's like liquid steel.
Yeah.
But it's an alchemical process to get it to that, rather than a heating process. So not any like Joe Schmo guy who can get a hot enough fire for a forge can work with it. It's actually more of like a casting system where they can be sharpened, but really you don't want to waste that material. You want to get it into the shape pretty much. Like you want to get it into that stored blank.
Right. Well, either way, I'm for it, as long as if the actual process, whatever direction you want to go in, is unique to Outcast, because then it makes that material that much more unique. Because once you send it out in sword form, or whatever, no one else is going to be able to work it. No one else is going to be able to change the shape.
Yeah, they basically have the market cornered on the ability to smelt this stuff. Right. As of like right now, no one else knows how to do it, or what the process or the alchemy that's involved in it. it might be a combination of traditional smelting and some alchemical processes as well that makes it and them able to do it.
So maybe this stuff can actually be found much more rare elsewhere, in pearl or shells of creatures, but it's practically useless other than it's in its raw form to anyone but the.
Well, I kind of feel like that it would be unique to Outcast or this area anyway because of the process that makes it. The idea that it's water running through, this chaos bleed enriched area,
right,
and falling to where these critters live, because where else are you going to have that situation? I mean, maybe like a runoff from a mountain into.
Well, I mean, it could.
If someone brought one of these crabs out out of Outcast area, maybe it would survive and live, but it's going to be super dilute, I would think, unless you were like, oh, I found this crab that used to be out all the way in Outcast.
Well, it just things could appear rarely, or there could be a chaos storm on or near somewhere else, and enough magic went into one thing to make that change, but it's not going to appear in quantity anywhere else but Outcast.
Well, and the other idea too is this stuff breeds true,
right,
in that area too. So not only is the magic kind of constantly replenishing, from
the
these
dripping
beds, but it's now part of these animals, and it also makes some interesting room for maybe in giant crabs as a monster, but instead of whatever their natural armor is, it's more like they're wearing full plate. Or maybe they do an extra die of damage or the next die up of damage because their claws are really more like getting pincered between giant scissors than pinchers. So there's some wiggle room for interesting things like that too, I believe.
Absolutely.
So, this is just the basis. If you guys, you want to weigh in the comments below, thanks for the idea, Michael. I think it's gold. I think it's going to add some interesting thing. That, and we got to bring back Shark Steel. While you guys are at it, like, comment, and subscribe.
You can support us on Patreon.
You can also check us out on UnderDark.com.
So until next time, stay nerdy.